Yes, it looks like I'm up and running. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, hey, good morning to those who are joining in. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, Surprisingly, they have a lot of people up and at their gadgets on the live stream, social media. Good morning to you. Yes, and black love to you all. To those who are now joining, good morning. Sorry, as a matter of fact, it's good evening or good night. My apologies. Greetings to those who are joining us. Greetings. Yes, greetings to you, my Moorish brothers and sisters. Greetings to you, to our Aboriginal Moors, Moorish Americans, Islam. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey, and yes, to those who are joining, to those who are now joining, I wanted to have a simple conversation with you guys at this time of the day. And, it's there are things that are bothering me, and, it's on my mind. And I wanted to address my fellow Guyanese home here in Guyana in the diaspora, to you who look forward in having the Dr. Matthews Bay show being given some sort of breadth and understanding. So good morning or good day or good evening or greetings to those who are now joining us via this live stream, and to those who are joining me via the GMS Live Radio. Oh my gosh, GMS Live Radio Guyana. Embracing the truth is my topic this at this time. And this, okay, to those who are in the diaspora, especially in the Europe, places like England, the UK, the United Kingdom, who would know it's like 5 moving into 6 o'clock in the morning, and would had some opportunity in viewing the GMS Live radio, listening to me via the GMS Live Radio Guyana and the Dr. Matthews B show, Voice of the Nation. As again I say, a very pleasant, very, very pleasant good day, good evening, greetings to those who are now joining. Black love to you all. And I want us to embrace the truth. I want us to, you can use the comment section so we can have, you know, a little bit of this discourse at this time, and, be able to comprehend what is on your mind and what exactly is it that you are looking for from the Gavin Matthews show. So, uh, hold on. The Gavin Matthews B show, Voice of the Nation. So, I'll just hold a minute. Right. Good. So, what is the truth, brothers and sisters? What can we how can we identify what is truth? What is direct, definite truth that a lot of us seek it for? And how do we want to embrace when we receive this information? This is what has been this is what has been pondering I've been pondering upon constantly. How do we receive the truth? How do we understand what is truth? How do we measure it? How do we go about doing it? You see, the thing of the matter is that we are living in a system that continues to enslave us as a people. And we need to comprehend that the only way we can revitalize who or what we are is by telling the truth, spreading the truth. And I want to discuss two factors of the truth: one, the political system, and two, the health system. You see, we need to comprehend that politics was designed in such a way to rule us. And the only way that can be done is if we give politics that shining example, if we give body and power to them. And by giving body and power to them tells them that we are unable as a people, we are unable to make certain decisions for ourselves. We are unable to govern ourselves. We are unable to feed ourselves. We are unable to find health factors for ourselves. So let me show you a simple example. Talking about the political side of it. In Guyana politics, we have a CEO who calls himself Efraud Ali, who goes around the place telling everybody around the world that he's making decisions for Guyanese and all Guyanese. And you who are living home here in Guyana are seeing that he's not making decisions for us. He's making decisions for himself. But the truth is, how do we safeguard ourselves against such lies? It's a political system. But how do we hold politics such accountable? How do we hold our politicians accountable for the things that they do and say? Like for instance, uh, there is a deep investigation into this country's criminal and narcotics history and past and so on. And people are trying to gain files of such, and I'm talking about the international community, which they already have. But the thing is that in order for files to don't present itself, you have to burn the place down that holds such files. We gotta stop seeing things and then telling ourselves that, well, look, they don't want this happening, don't want happen, and the reason why this has been done is because they don't want people to get to know about it. But that's the fact. We need to understand and start embracing the truth, especially what surrounds us. The de facto or domicile regime cannot represent all Guyanese. This is not one Guyana. This is a corporation. This is a state that is designed to hold you as a slave and all the time. What's the truth? The truth is that that is how it works. That's the Constitution. That's the acts, codes, and statutes that we live by. And who are the acts and what is the acts, codes, and statutes? Us, a people who call ourselves Guyanese. Now, someone asked me, how do they come out of the system and want to claim themselves as Aboriginal? It is simple. All you have to do is renounce your citizenship. They can't hold you to it. The only way they can hold you to the citizenship in which you are as Guyanese is if you continue to accept yourself as Guyanese, if you continue to accept yourself as part of a corporation. We need to understand that the minute we awake, every single day we awake ourselves, and means awake is to celebrate your death anniversary. The minute you awake to the system, every single day, you woke yourself up to the system, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into slavery. It's hard to say it. It's very, very hard to say it. It's hard to tell my brothers and sisters, look, nothing cannot be done because you're enslaved to a system, the system that is designed to keep you enslaved. And they would ask me, so why this keep on happening? Is because you give them power. You say nothing, you do nothing. The system operates just under those clauses. When you do nothing and you say nothing, the system cannot. The system will operate. But if you do something, the system cannot operate because it needs you, the individual, you, their subjects, to operate. That's how the system works. But there are lots of people who are not going to sit and tell you that in order for the Guyana's constitution, the will of the people, as they so claim, to operate and to function is if the people operate under the will of themselves. If the people refuse to operate, well, the system will operate for them. And operating for them is to enslave them more because the system only knows one thing, it's to enslave you, it's to keep you in captivity and bondage. You ever ask yourself, and I'm sure most of you are looking, you ever ask yourself, why do I have to pay just to live on this planet? Why do you? Isn't there an other way around? Why do I have to work just to live? What makes sense if you have to work to live? Life is freedom. That's what freedom is. Lots of people don't understand that. If you declare yourself a living soul, an aboriginal or an indigenous person, you are absolutely free because that is there, and only then you will have your three rights: the right to life, liberty, and property. If you put yourself into the system, then you don't have no inalienable rights. You have no right to liberty, no right to life, and no right to property because you're being bought and sold. Yes, grand rising to you. But it's something that we need to sit down and look over. There are too much information out there. And right now, the information sector, the social media is trying to clamp down on so much information that came out, that is out there to people now. Their eyes are opened. They're seeing things. Why you so I'm you could imagine I was in my bed a couple of hours ago, and And just thinking alone, because my cerebral capacity has expanded, and somehow or the other, I feel that I'm using more than 10% of my brain. I cannot sleep because information is flowing so steadily. Even if my eyes are open, I'm so focused now that I just can't imagine that I'm that focused. My pineal gland is working overtime that I just cannot say. The information that is so great. Like it's like I'm in overdrive. But I cannot sit down and keep it to myself. I knew I didn't have the show last night. I decided to just come on now and just do it because I want to have this silent conversation with you. Why do we have to pay such a price just to exist? Come on, guys, ask ourselves. Why do we have to pay a price just to exist? Everywhere around the world is the same thing. In Guyana, you have people like ourselves who separated it out themselves into class system. You got the working class, you got the upper class, and you got the poorer class, and we're all the same color. Believe you me, you walk all Amerindian, East Indian, wherever Indian, it's the same thing. It's indigo, which you're black. But the thing is that if you want to call yourself that, you belong to the system. You need to identify yourself as a melanated person, an aboriginal. And why do I keep saying these things? Is because you need to identify yourself of who you are. You do not belong to a system. Look, let me show you a simple example. An 18-year-old male walked into supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and shot 15 people. 10 of them died. 3 are critically injured. I'm saying to you, how come can this be? And then turns around and says he's not guilty, and he's looking at it a motive of insanity. And you know what gives him that right? The laws. The system that you live in gives him that right. For those who are looking and in the diaspora in New York, or in the United States, what gives that young man that right? It is because you agreed to live according to the system. So he thinks he's superior to you. He has privileges more than you, so he can walk in and kill you because you are his slave. Come to Guyana now, it's the same thing. The de facto administration feels that you're enslaved to a system. They're not going to tell you that. So why are you crying? Because you fail to realize, you fail to read, you fail to understand the Constitution, you fail to understand the laws that governs you. That's why they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. You gave them that right, Guyanese. Just what is happening to you right now in this country, you gave the political party which is installed that right. You gave them that right. Because the Constitution says it can only work. That's what the Constitution says. The Constitution can only work via way of your will. That's the only way it can work. If your will is not in place with the Constitution, well, then it cannot work. The corporation becomes domicile. It becomes a de facto. Let's make sense out of it. It says it says that the sovereignty of the Constitution is based upon the will of the people. The sovereignty of the Constitution of the Corporation of Guyana is based upon the will of the people, its subjects. Let's look at the Representation of the People's Act. The Representation of the People's Act, ROPA, as you want to call it, is based upon the will of the people. When the de facto CEO, the domiciled CEO, approves the Constitution, he or she says, "We the people." You ever read it? Read the very first part of the Constitution, the introduction that is signed by the president. It says, "We the people." And because he calls himself the president or the CEO, he signs on behalf of the people because you are his loyal subjects. That is why when you retaliate, he sends out the police force, he sends out the army, he sends out this, and he sends all of it because he's trying to say that you put him there to represent you. Now you want to take him away when it is your will that puts him there. But if you keep on fighting for your rights, he himself has to demit office. The Constitution says so. It is the people of the corporation that makes the de facto administration more de facto if the people rise up and go against that de facto administration because it's the people who put them there. He has to resign. That's a no confident vote already. You don't have to align parliament to have a no confident vote. It's the people who places no confidence in the CEO. That's why I say I want to address the political understanding. It's like if you place before the court, you and somebody has an issue that you need to work out, and you both you can't work it out. So you place the matter before the court, who now gives the court an administration right, an administrative right to administer adjudication unto you because you are unable to do so. A lot of persons fail to understand that they themselves are law. If a disagreement between two parties cannot be met and you take it before the court, you give the court that right to administer adjudication unto you. If you don't approach the court, if you don't receive the court, well, then there's nothing. The court can't work. It becomes domicile. It's always domicile. It's always de facto. If you comprehend, if you let us say the president, and let me show you how the Constitution works. The de facto president says he wants to have an election. Let us say tomorrow. The only way he can remain in office is if he has a majority vote of more than half the population who now goes out to vote. That's what the Constitution says. More than half of the electorate. Now, let us say 60% of the electorate stay home. 60% of the voting population stay home. The electors, or those who goes to elect persons at the vote, at the ballot, at polling places. Well, then you have no government. It becomes domicile. Simple chronologies work. Then the president cannot be president because less than 50% of the population of the electors stay home. More than 50% of the electors stay home. You got 60% refuse to go and vote, 40% go out and vote. You cannot have a government because the Constitution says so, according to international laws that upholds and live according to a democratic standard. That's the truth. The possibility exists that we need to be constantly told what is the truth. We need to embrace the truth. The truth may hurt, but you need to embrace it. You need to take control of your lives, Guyanese. You need to take control of the political situation in your country. You're the only person to do that. The politicians can't do it. The politicians will continue to govern you under democracy that entails and intends to enslave you all the time. If you stand up for your rights and you claim what you want, when then the possibility exists that politics will work in your favor. It is simple. I could never forget Salbodan Milosevic. Salbodan Milosevic of Yugoslavia felt that he was a direct dictator. He was placed there by the people because every time he went to the polls, he got an outright win. So he started telling himself he's there for life. And he became a dictator, and it's the people who deposed him. So if we stand up for our rights, look, let me show you what is, there are those who saying it is pure evil, the administration is evil, wicked. Yes, they are. They are evil and wicked, but they're the devil himself. No, it's not the devil exists within them. They are the devil himself. How can you send home 3,500 people from the public sector because 7,000 cane workers were sent home with gratuity and benefits? You sent home 3,500 public servants from the public sector since you came into office. You sent them home because the previous administration decided to close down the sugar sector because it's not making money, and decided to give the sugar workers their benefits so when they go home they have something to live off for until when they get something new. But you are so much mad and annoyed about it that you send them home. Not only that, let me show you how disrespectful you are. You now decide to, out of a $500 billion plus budget, let's say roughly 600 billion, because you pass an emergency package in December of last year for 26 billion. Then you came and passed a budget for 500 plus billion. But how much have you given? Ask yourself, Guyanese, those who are public servants, ask yourself this question. Can you tell yourself if this is right? $500 billion will pass in a budget, and you have received 0.00056% from that 500 billion plus. One man alone got a contract. One man got two contracts. That's nearly amounting to $100 billion worth. No, sorry, nearly amounting to $1 billion. Because one contract is 300, the other contract is 1.2 billion, which can give the public servants a proper salary throughout a whole year. One man alone. Can you tell me if that is fair? Ask yourself, is it fair to you, Guyanese, that a government has passed a budget 300 times the size of the population of Guyana? and then is going to tell me that you still can't get that amount of money. Ask yourself the question. You can't get a single dime, a single cent from him or her or the economy, the country. Are you not worth are you not worth that amount? You know who has to pay back that money at the end of the day? Guyanese. You are the persons who have to pay that money back. Yes. And the population, the working population out of 450,000, active workers are 62,000. Just give me a minute, please. I think I gotta fix this light. Excuse me a minute, please, to those who are looking. I have to fix this light. So just give me 1 minute or two. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm back. So, as I was saying earlier, before I had that break in, I had to fix the light so you can properly see me on the live feed. Ask yourself these questions. Is it moral? Is it a moral standard? How 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 can a man claim that he is there for all Guyanese and inhumanely treat you like a property of the state? Ask yourself that question. Who tells you at the end of the day, well, look, we can do what we want to? Who divides you into class and party and politics? Politics is not for the people, politics is for those who are in government. You can't treat Guyanese as politicians. They're not. They're human beings, they're living souls. But we need to understand when we see who is the devil really. They say that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to convince the world he doesn't exist. Yes, he does not exist. The only way you can see the existence of the devil is when human beings like yourselves operate in such a manner. Devastating, inhumane acts. When you see them operate like that, you wanted to know where is the soul of the individual. One man responsible for the lives of 1,480 Guyanese and up to this day has never even answered one question. And now he's at the helm of government again, tearing up the lives of those who wants to live normal, who wants to live peaceful. We need to comprehend what is good for us, Guyanese. We need to ask ourselves, where do we stand in this place that you call Guyana's Guyanese? Look and see where you are and ask yourself if you want to continue like this. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard, but ask yourself the question if you want to continue living like this. And ask yourself if this is healthy for you. It's not, because you got hypertension, and hypertension increases diabetes based upon the food that you eat. And it is not working out. It is not working out. We have so many disadvantages and advantages that is crippling our society every single day. And you are not benefiting from none that are called Guyanese, Aboriginal, melanated people. You're not benefiting. Do you know that there are more workers are being sent home? It's just the media refuse to cover it. For the past 3 months alone, you had roughly 300 people were sent home. The public sector begins to diminish. It becomes lesser and lesser. And in order for it to diminish, you have to attack the foundations of the public sector now so they cannot have strength. And what is the foundation? The Public Service Credit Union. You check it, look at it. This is the only credit union giving you money for buy your cars, giving you loans to buy your cars, giving you loans to build your house. Because the bank is not doing that for you. The banks are putting so much pressure on you who are borrowing just to borrow at least $1 million. They're creating impossible avenues for you to get at least the amount of money that you need to complete. They don't want you to live. They don't want you to survive. They want you to struggle. They want you to remain in slavery and in bondage. They want you to take at least 10 years to complete your house. And by the time 10 years is finished, you can't complete it, you can't complete your loan, and they take it back from you. That is what is happening. Look and see where you are. And they're crippling the foundations that are there to make you survive. They're crippling the foundations that are there so you cannot move beyond one particular sphere. It's like you stick. Where you stick at. You start building a house, it never finish 5, 10, 15 years after. You stick right there on that subject. So when you stick on that subject, they take away everything that it is that you own, your land, your lineage, your title, your resources. So you cannot complain. Check and see why Guyanese are not complaining about the oil that is being taken away, the conditions that they've been made to live in. It is because they cannot focus on all these other things. They have to focus on how they get to eat, how they're going to get to work, and if they have children, how they're going to survive. So we cannot create an atmosphere where you can gain these three things from: work, eat, and survive. If you check it, if each Guyanese, if 40 Guyanese alone, 40, not even 100, 40 Guyanese alone can experience these three things, well, then you have an opposition because they can focus upon the things that are not being taken away from them now pertaining to country. They can focus on their politicians. But because they're hooked up with all these things, they can't even focus on themselves, much as the politicians. And it is hard for you, very much hard. But here, what's the thing that catches me, that takes away everything that I've said? Although the Guyanese are faced with all these criteria, all these things that enslaves them, that oppress them, let's have an event that can market some kind of entertainment. They're there by the thousands. They're there, and this is what is plaguing my mind because you're living in an oppressed society. You're living in an oppressed state that enslaves you, you and your entire family. That you got to work so hard to satisfy the system that you create, that enslaves you because you approve of the enslavery. And yet still, you go to entertain yourselves while crying because you're living in an oppressive manner. That is what takes away everything. Everything. And it is hard for me to comprehend that maybe you liked living in this fear of slavery. That's the only I can think of. And how do I say it's slavery? Because most of them wants to be spoon fed. Instead of you sitting down and reading and comprehending where you are and where you ought not to be, we want to be spoon fed. We want people to sit down and feed us their own ideologies, their own entrapment, so we can become slaves of them. Do you comprehend? It becomes a critical issue. And it's starting from right before our eyes. It's not hidden. And I'm using simple examples. One man walked in a supermarket and killed 10 people in one day. When you have a man on the throne of the corporation of Guyana who's responsible for who's responsible for the deaths of 1,480 Guyanese during a period of 10 years. Y'all get my point? That means each year he killed at least 1,100 Guyanese. At least each year he's responsible. Sorry, each year he's responsible for 100. My apologies. Each year he's responsible for 100 and about 50 Guyanese for the deaths. When you combine it for that 10-year period, he killed more people than those fanatics that's living in the US. He's responsible for the deaths of more people. And for those who are looking, yes, I talk about Barjack Dio. He's responsible for more people in a 10-year period that was being killed in the US. Look at it. Where are your statistics? And he sits there and still cartographs his movement in governing the country in the way in which he did it 10, 15 years ago. He's still doing it. And are you benefiting from it? No. Not even his own people that he claimed that voted for him is benefiting from him. The people knew that they didn't vote for him, but you see what he did? He took their votes. No, he took the votes, but he's not even governing the country in the favor of them because they're punishing. Everybody's punishing. Every Guyanese are not benefiting from what's supposed to be theirs. Let us let us ask ourselves these questions constantly. Am I a human being? Am I a living soul? What are my rights? How do I go about exercising my rights? How do I go about proclaiming my nationality? How do I go about wanting my freedom, not to accept slavery? I'm serious. Nothing works for us. The judicial system doesn't work for us. The political system don't work for us. The health system doesn't work for us. Nothing works for us. Ask yourself that question. I'm serious. Ask yourself the question. What works for us as a people? Nothing. Because in order for it to work for us, we need to hold it accountable. According to the Constitution, to work for us, we need to hold the Constitution accountable. How do we hold the Constitution accountable? By understanding that Constitution, by comprehending what are our rights, and demand that your rights be heard, which is the will of you. That's your right. That's the only way you're going to be healthy. A nation divided and oppressed cannot be a healthy nation. You'll have rising tensions and you have rising health care this you health issues. You will have rising health issues that will affect the population, and that's the fact. We got a growing diabetic community in Guyana in the Caribbean is one of the one of a heavy populated with diabetes. Our population are large in numbers of being diabetic. A large diabetic population we got in the Caribbean. It is so large that the health ministry and come out and tell you, see what they did? They gave out what you call an incentive for those who needs to pay for the diet. You call it the I'm going to try to remember just now. Dialysis. But they're not telling you that Guyana is one of the largest populated country with diabetes. The Ministry of Health can come out and tell you, but they're passing grants. So each person can have at least $60,000, I think it's per month or per year, where he could go and have to pay for the diabetes for the diabetic treatment because a lot of people are dying from it. The minute you go on dialysis in this country, you already know you only lasting for at least 5 months. If you last over a year or you last a lot, because that's the end of you. You move from one time a week to two times a week. When you see you go to three times a week, that's it. Your kidneys and your liver collapse. As long as you're moving to three times dialysis per week, that's the end of your kidneys and your liver. Can't work no more for you. Sorry to say that, but that's the fact. You're looking at someone who's being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes over 10 years ago. And I have never participated in none of those clinics. Nothing. Drank any tablet, nothing at all. But they're not going to tell you that there's a cure for it because the medical industry has to work and gain money. They're not going to say that there's a cure for diabetes. Too many persons. We have children now who becoming diabetic. And what's the first thing Mr. Granger did when he got into power? You remember? He banned all canteens in schools for selling heavily sugary items. He banned it, you forget. Carbonated drinks, he banned it. You need to stop selling school children those things because school children now are becoming diabetic. But deep down, we don't want to hear that. That's not for us, We want to hear the part. We want to go there, we want to enjoy ourselves on the sugary items, and we fail to understand the things that we're consuming is what causes us to become like that. Whilst that is happening, the corporation of Guyana is being robbed. As a matter of fact, the corporation of Guyana is robbing us of our natural resources that doesn't belong to any other person. It doesn't even belong to the corporation of Guyana. The corporation of Guyana is robbing Guyanese, the Aboriginal people, the natives, not Guyanese, the natives. They're robbing them of their wealth, which most of you are natives. Not all of you, but most of you are natives. They're robbing you of your wealth. But you can't say nothing about it because you're Guyanese. You belong to the corporation. You can't fight for it because you belong to the corporation. You just cannot do nothing because you are the corporation's loyal subjects. You have a Guyanese birth certificate, which shows that you belong to the corporation, that they own you. You have a Guyanese passport, shows that they own you, again, the corporation of Guyana. Then you have a Guyanese tin certificate. Better yet, you can't do commerce without them. They own you. You have to pay taxes. Everything that takes you to an identification, the Corporate Republic of Guyana or the Corporation of Guyana, shows that they own you and you are their loyal subjects. It's sad to say these things, but these are the facts. You don't think Jack Deere knows it? What I'm talking about, you don't think your opposition leader knows it? You don't think members of parliament or members in the legal fraternity or the bar association knows all the things that I'm saying? They know. Not all of them, but majority of them, they know. Or I think they have a grand lodge that they go to and they sit and discuss among themselves. These are the things that are governing us at the end of the day, and we need to take cognizance of them. We need to understand or we need to comprehend what is there before us. We need to constantly study and read. We need to bring our children into the fold. Because if slavery cannot eradicate itself from this present uh, population of people, this dispensation, that we need to teach our children so it can be vanished away. If we don't teach our children, they will repeat itself over and over, and that's what they want. Ask yourself these questions. Why must I pay to live on this planet? Why must I gotta work so hard just to survive on this planet? No, you don't. But the more things become complicated for you on this planet, is the more things are going to be doomed. Why you think you have wars and rumors of wars? It is because we fail to understand where we are or comprehend where we are, so they have superpowers or the individuals or families who want superpower over another family. It's all about an enslaving a population. It's all about creating uh, uh, cattle slavery. It's all about creating domestic slavery. It's all about a caste system of slavery. And the prison population is too small. They want more prisoners because that in itself is a slave camp. I'm not saying that people didn't commit crimes. Yes, you did. You know you commit the crime, you got to do the time. But then they want getting people to commit the crime, so they start jailing you based upon whatever you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Better yet, they send you to jail. They start using your own living rights as a human being to send you to jail. They start using your own words against you as a human being to send you to jail. And when you pop up in front of the administrator, which is the judge, you're so much afraid that you don't know what to do next. You start saying a lot of gibberish, a lot of things that doesn't make sense, and they send you to jail because they say you're ignorant of the law. And to be ignorant of the law is a crime, and a lot of us don't know that. It's a crime to be ignorant of the law because you yourself was created in the way and the manner in which it's lawful. Islam. I, self, law, am master. The minute you say I am, which means I am master, the minute you say I, like how I say I, Dr. Matthews-Bey, I, identifying myself, I am master. We are responsible for our own selves. And the laws that were created tells us that, but we don't comprehend that. We don't want to comprehend. So they create now within those laws, within the constitution, they create laws, and the laws are acts, codes, and statutes. Because we're failing to understand or comprehend, we are laws. So the system created an understanding that will look, since you cannot understand or identify yourself as a lawful living soul, we're now going to tell you who you are, which you're a slave. That's what's happening. Then you got people representing you in all walks of life, talking about themselves as lawyers. No, they're not. They're just trying to see who can reason more the best, maybe to get you off of the case and they can get more money. All these things are examples for you to see, especially Guyana. Guyana is one of the largest. Guyana in the Caribbean has more criminal laws, criminal lawyers more than anyone else in the Caribbean. Guyana. You need to ask yourself the reason why. Why does Guyana have so much criminal lawyers? Why? Because crime is a major issue in Guyana, where land flowing with milk and honey, and crime is being committed daily upon its citizens, from the politicians right down, are committing crimes upon the citizens. And by the citizens don't defend and doesn't know to defend themselves and they're ignorant, or better yet, you're slaves, so how you can defend yourself? I direct your show. Can't defend yourself. You're so rich as a people and as a nation. I wanna I wanna appreciate the time that people took out to be with me through this 1 hour and to have a listening ear to what I had to say. And I want you to think about it before you go back to bed again. To some of those who have, came out of their sleep, arise out of their sleep just to listen to what I had to say. And I want you to think about it and ask yourself if this really is where you're supposed to be in this life, in this dispensation. And if you're not, you cannot. Now is the time to do something about it because it is going to help you. It is going to free you from who you think you are. You think you're Guyanese, but you didn't know that you're a slave. It's going to free you from that. And the reparations that they're talking about is the royalty that they owe you because they come to your land and took your land away from you, who is the indigenous people. And now they're trying to tell you to pay for the things them that they're providing for you, which they came and meet you on. You have more rights more than them than anything else. All you have to do is proclaim your rights, proclaim your nationality, and enforce the Constitution. So I want to say thank you to those who took the time out to join me. I want to say black love to you all. And remember, it's a brand sold on items and clothing materials in order for the the upgrading of the Gavin Matthews of the Dr. Matthews-Bey show and strengthening of that as a matter of fact, and to make sure that the peaceful revolution continues. Peace, love, and friendship to you all, to those who are joining, and to those who were with me for this 1 hour. I want to say to you, stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. And don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying good morning, or sorry, grand rising, and Cheerios to you.